The rain pounded New York City streets. A relentless drumbeat that drowned out the world's chaos, but not the storm in Ezra's heart. He stumbled through a dim alley, one hand clutching his stomach, the other gripping a flickering street lamp as nausea surged like a tidal wave. I'm pregnant. In a stranger's body. In a world I don't belong to. How did this happen? Ezra wasn't supposed to be here. Yesterday, or what felt like yesterday, was a college student in Seattle, cramming for finals and dodging his ex's texts. Then, a blinding light, a sickening lurch, and he woke up in this body, lean, unfamiliar, and unmistakably pregnant. The memories of this body's original owner, a man named Jamie, flooded his mind like a broken dam. Snippets of a life filled with danger, desire, and a towering figure named Caleb, an alpha with a reputation that could make anyone's knees buckle. Caleb, the leader of the city's most powerful werewolf pack, was Jamie's sworn enemy. And yet, Ezra's new body ached with a longing he couldn't explain, a pull toward Caleb that felt like fate and a curse. He retched, the nausea winning, and splattered the pavement. A low chuckle came from the shadows. Rough night, Jamie. The voice was deep, velvet laced with steel, and Ezra's heart lurched as he turned to face Caleb. 6 feet of muscle and menace. Caleb leaned against a brick wall, his dark eyes glinting under the neon glow of a dive bar's sign. Rain plastered his black hair to his forehead, and his leather jacket glistened, making him look like a predator who'd just stepped out of a storm-charged dream. Don't call me that, Ezra snapped, wiping his mouth. I'm not him. The words slipped out before he could stop them, raw and reckless. Caleb's brow arched, his gaze sharpening like a blade. Ezra cursed inwardly. Jamie's memories screamed that mouthing off to Caleb was a death wish. But Ezra wasn't Jamie, and he wasn't about to bow to some self-proclaimed alpha, no matter how much his body thrummed at the sight of him. Not him. Caleb stepped closer, his boots splashing in puddles, his scent a mix of cedarwood and danger cutting through the rain. Then who are you? Spitting fire and looking like you're about to bolt. His tone was mocking, but his eyes held something else: curiosity, maybe even concern. Ezra's stomach twisted, not from nausea, but from the electric charge between them. He didn't know if it was Jamie's lingering feelings or something new, but Caleb's presence was a gravitational pull he couldn't escape. I'm Ezra, he said, voice trembling but defiant. And I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm not your enemy. He didn't mention the pregnancy, not yet. How do you tell a guy you just met, who's supposedly your rival, that you're carrying a child that might be his? Jamie's memories were a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. But one thing was clear: Caleb and Jamie had history. A tangled mess of passion and betrayal that ended in blood and broken promises. Caleb's smirk faded, replaced by a frown. Ezra. Huh. You sound crazy, but you smell like him. He leaned in, too close, his breath warm against Ezra's cheek. You smell like mine. The word sent a shiver down Ezra's spine, equal parts fear and something dangerously close to desire. He shoved Caleb back, or tried to. His hands met a wall of muscle that didn't budge. Back off, Ezra growled, though his voice cracked. I'm not your anything. But even as he said it, Jamie's memories surged: a flash of Caleb's hands on his skin, whispered promises under moonlight, a love that burned too bright and crashed too hard. Ezra staggered, overwhelmed, and Caleb caught his arm, steadying him with a grip that was both gentle and unyielding. You're not okay, Caleb said, his voice softer now, almost tender. What's wrong with you? Jamie Ezra, whatever you're calling yourself. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and in the quiet, Ezra heard his own heartbeat, loud and erratic. He wanted to tell Caleb everything: a transmigration, the pregnancy, the fear that he was losing himself in Jamie's life. But trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not when Caleb's pack was hunting rogues like Jamie. And not when Ezra didn't even know who he was anymore. "I need to get out of here," Ezra muttered, pulling free and stumbling toward the alley's mouth. Caleb followed, silent but relentless, like a shadow Ezra couldn't shake. The city buzzed around them, taxis honking, neon signs flickering, but all Ezra could feel was the weight of Caleb's gaze and the life growing inside him. A secret that could either save them or destroy them both. As they emerged onto a crowded street, Ezra's nausea returned, sharp and unforgiving. He doubled over, retching again, and Caleb was there in an instant, one hand on his back, the other shielding him from passers-by. "You're sick," Caleb said, his voice tight with worry. "Let me take you somewhere safe." "Safe?" Ezra laughed bitterly, straightening up. "With you. Jamie's memories say you're the last person I should trust." Caleb's jaw tightened, a flicker of pain crossing his face, and Ezra felt a pang of guilt. He didn't know the full story, but Jamie's memories painted Caleb as both villain and savior, a man who'd broken Jamie's heart but never stopped protecting him. "You don't know me," Caleb said quietly, his eyes searching Ezra's. "But I know you, Jamie. And whatever's going on, I'm not letting you run off alone." His words were a promise, heavy with meaning Ezra couldn't fully grasp. The rain had stopped, leaving the air thick with the scent of wet asphalt and unspoken truths. Ezra wanted to push Caleb away, to run and never look back. But something in Caleb's voice, raw, almost desperate, held him in place. "Fine," Ezra said at last, his voice barely above a whisper. "But if you betray me, I'll make you regret it." Caleb's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile, and for a moment, Ezra saw the man Jamie had loved, the man who might still be worth loving. They stood there, two strangers bound by a past neither fully understood, and Ezra felt the first stirrings of hope and fear that this new life might be more than he could handle. Caleb's apartment was a fortress disguised as a loft, all exposed brick and steel beams in a Brooklyn high-rise that screamed money and power. Ezra sat on a leather couch, clutching a glass of water, his eyes darting to the city skyline beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Caleb watched him from across the room, leaning against a counter, his arms crossed and his expression unreadable. "Why are you helping me?" Ezra asked, breaking the silence. His voice was steadier now, the nausea temporarily at bay, but his heart raced. Jamie's memories were amazed flashes of Caleb's laughter, his rage, a fight that left Jamie bleeding in an alley not unlike the one they'd just left. "You and Jamie were enemies. You wanted him dead." Caleb's eyes darkened, but he didn't look away. "I never wanted him dead," he said, his voice low and rough. "Jamie was complicated. He betrayed the pack, but he was still one of us. Still mine." The last word hung in the air, heavy with possession and pain. Ezra's chest tightened, caught between Jamie's lingering love and his own wariness. "Then why did he run?" Ezra pressed, setting the glass down with a clink. "Why was he so afraid of you?" Caleb's silence was an answer in itself, and Ezra's frustration boiled over. "I'm not him. Okay. I'm Ezra, and I'm stuck in this body, in this mess, and I don't even know if I can trust you. So give me something real, Caleb, or I'm walking out that door." Caleb pushed off the counter, crossing the room in 3 strides. He stopped inches from Ezra, close enough that Ezra could feel the heat radiating from him. "You want real?" Caleb said, his voice a low growl. "Jamie was my mate. My everything. He broke my trust, but I never stopped loving him. And you look like him, smell like him, but you're different. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not letting you go until I figure it out." Ezra's breath caught, his body betraying him with a flush of warmth at Caleb's words. Mate. The word echoed in Jamie's memories. A bond deeper than love, stronger than blood. But Ezra wasn't Jamie, and he wasn't about to fall for a man who might be playing him. I'm pregnant, he blurted, the words spilling out like a confession. And I don't know if it's yours, but Jamie's memories, they say it might be. Caleb froze, his eyes widening, and for a moment, Ezra thought he'd bolt. But then Caleb's hand reached out, hesitant, resting lightly on Ezra's shoulder. Pregnant, he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Jamie never told me. The pain in his eyes was raw, unguarded, and Ezra felt a surge of empathy he didn't want. Caleb wasn't just an alpha, he was a man carrying wounds Ezra could only guess at. I don't know what happened between you two, Ezra said, softer now. But I'm here now, and I'm scared. I don't know this world, your pack, or what this baby means. I need answers. Caleb. Caleb's hand tightened briefly, then dropped, and he stepped back, running a hand through his hair. The pack doesn't know about you, Caleb said finally. If they find out you're pregnant, especially if it's mine, they'll see it as a threat. A rogue's child, maybe even an alpha's heir. It's a power struggle waiting to happen. He paced, his boots thudding against the hardwood floor. Jamie was running from them, not just me. He stole something, a relic the pack needs to maintain control. I thought he was playing me, but now, I don't know. Ezra's mind raced, piecing together Jamie's fragmented memories. A silver amulet, glowing with strange runes, hidden in a safe house. Jamie's desperation to keep it from the pack, to protect something or someone. The amulet, Ezra said, testing the waters. It's why they're after him, isn't it? Caleb stopped pacing, his gaze locking onto Ezra's. How do you know about that? His voice was sharp, suspicious, and Ezra realized he'd said too much. But there was no going back now. Jamie's memories, Ezra admitted. They're spotty, but I saw it. He hid it somewhere, didn't he? Caleb's silence confirmed it, and Ezra pressed on. If I help you find it, will you protect me? Me and the baby. The words felt foreign, but saying them made the life inside him real, a tether to this strange new world. Caleb's expression softened, and he knelt in front of Ezra, meeting his eyes. I'll protect you, he said, his voice steady. No matter whose child it is. But you need to trust me, Ezra. Can you do that? His hand hovered near Ezra's, not quite touching, and the air between them crackled with possibility. I don't know, Ezra whispered, his heart torn between fear and the undeniable pull of Caleb's sincerity. But I'll try. Caleb's lips curved into a small, hopeful smile, and for the first time, Ezra felt like he wasn't alone in this chaos. They were two broken pieces, maybe from different puzzles, but somehow fitting together. As the night deepened, Caleb offered Ezra a guest room, but Ezra couldn't sleep. He lay awake, Jamie's memories swirling with his own, painting a picture of a love that defied pack laws and a betrayal that shattered trust. He touched his stomach, feeling the faint flutter of life, and made a silent promise, I'll keep you safe, no matter what. But the weight of Caleb's vow, and the danger lurking in the pack's shadows, told him this was only the beginning. Dawn broke over Brooklyn, painting the loft in hues of gold and gray, but Ezra felt no warmth. He stood by the window, watching the city wake, his mind a battlefield of doubt and determination. Caleb's promise to protect him was a lifeline, but the pack's threat loomed like a storm cloud, and Jamie's memories whispered of a safe house where the amulet answers might lie. Caleb emerged from the kitchen, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. You didn't sleep, he said, offering one to Ezra. His tone was gentle, but his eyes were sharp, scanning for signs of weakness. Ezra took the mug, the warmth grounding him, and met Caleb's gaze. "I can't just sit here," Ezra said. "If the amulet's the key to all this, we need to find it. Today?" Caleb's jaw tightened, but he nodded, and Ezra saw a flicker of respect in his eyes. They were in this together now, bound by necessity and something deeper, something neither dared name. The safe house was a rundown apartment in the Bronx, hidden behind a laundromat's flickering sign. Caleb drove, his hands steady on the wheel, but the silence between them was heavy with unspoken questions. Ezra's nausea had eased, but his nerves were raw, Jamie's memories clashing with his own instincts. He saw flashes of Jamie sneaking into this very building, heart pounding, clutching the amulet like it was his last hope. Inside, the apartment was a mess of overturned furniture, broken glass, signs of a struggle. Ezra's stomach dropped. "Someone got here first," he said, stepping over a shattered lamp. Caleb's eyes narrowed, his body tensing like a predator sensing danger. "Stay close," Caleb ordered, moving ahead to check the rooms. Ezra ignored him, drawn to a loose floorboard in the corner. Jamie's memories screamed that this was his hiding place. He pried it open, heart racing, and found a small metal box. Inside was the amulet, its silver surface etched with runes that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. "Caleb," Ezra called, but before he could turn, a shadow moved in the doorway. A woman, tall and sharp-featured, stepped into the light, her eyes glowing with the same feral intensity as Caleb's. Well, she drawled, her voice dripping with menace. "The rogue's back, and he's brought company." "Lila," Caleb growled, positioning himself between Ezra and the woman. "Leave him alone." Lila's laugh was cold, and Ezra's blood ran colder still when two more figures appeared, pack members, their eyes glinting with hostility. "You're protecting him," Lila sneered, her gaze flicking to Ezra. "He's a traitor, Caleb. And that amulet belongs to the pack." She stepped closer, and Ezra clutched the amulet tighter, his heart pounding. Jamie's memories confirmed it. Lila was Caleb's second in command, loyal to the pack, but hungry for power. "He's not Jamie," Caleb said, his voice steady but laced with warning. "And he's under my protection." Lila's eyes widened, then narrowed, and Ezra saw the calculation in her gaze. A pregnant rogue, possibly carrying Caleb's child, was a threat to her ambitions. "Enough talk," Lila snapped, lunging forward. Caleb moved faster, shoving Ezra behind him and meeting Lila's attack with a snarl. The room erupted into chaos, fists, claws, and growls as Caleb fought off Lila and her allies. Ezra backed against the wall, the amulet burning in his hand, his mind racing for a way out. "Run!" Caleb shouted, slamming one of the pack members into a table. But Ezra couldn't leave, not when Caleb was fighting for him, not when the amulet was their only leverage. He scanned the room, spotting a fire escape through a broken window. "Caleb, this way," he yelled, sprinting for the exit. They stumbled onto the fire escape, the amulet still in Ezra's grip, and raced down the rusted stairs as Lila's shouts echoed behind them. The city roared below, oblivious to their desperation. Caleb grabbed Ezra's hand, pulling him into an alley, and for a moment, they paused, breathless, their eyes locking. "You didn't run," Caleb said, his voice rough with emotion. "Why?" "Because I'm not Jamie," Ezra replied, his chest heaving. "And I'm not leaving you to fight alone." Caleb's gaze softened, and for a heartbeat, the world fell away, leaving only the two of them, bound by trust and something more. But the sound of footsteps snapped them back to reality, and they ran. The amulets weighed a reminder of the dangers still chasing them. The safe house was miles behind them, but Ezra's heart still raced as he and Caleb ducked into a crowded Manhattan diner. The amulet tucked safely in Ezra's pocket. The neon glow and clatter of dishes offered a fleeting sense of normalcy, but Ezra knew it wouldn't last. Lila and the pack were closing in, and the amulet's power, whatever it was, made them a target. Caleb slid into the booth across from Ezra, his eyes scanning the room like a soldier on high alert. "We can't keep running," he said, his voice low. "The amulet's tied to the pack's strength. If we don't use it or destroy it, they'll never stop." Ezra touched his stomach, feeling the faint flutter of life, and made a decision. "Then we use it," he said. "But not for the pack. For us. For this." He gestured to his belly, and Caleb's eyes softened, a mix of awe and fear. Ezra didn't know if the baby was Caleb's, but Jamie's memories screamed of a love that defied reason, and Ezra was starting to feel it too. Caleb reached across the table, his hand covering Ezra's. "Whatever happens," he said, "I'm with you." The words were a vow, and Ezra's heart ached with the weight of it. He wanted to believe Caleb, to lean into the warmth of his touch, but Jamie's betrayal lingered like a ghost between them. They found a warehouse in Queens, a temporary refuge where Caleb's allies, rogues who'd left the pack, could help. There, Ezra learned the amulet's truth. It held the power to bind or break pack bonds, a relic that could free Caleb from his alpha duties or cement his rule. But using it came with a cost: blood, sacrifice, and a choice that could tear them apart. As night fell, Lila and the pack attacked, their howls echoing through the warehouse. Caleb fought like a man possessed, protecting Ezra and the amulet, but the odds were brutal. Ezra, clutching the relic, felt its power surge, and Jamie's memories guided him. He pressed the amulet to his chest, whispering words he didn't fully understand, and a wave of energy erupted, freezing the pack in their tracks. "Caleb!" Ezra shouted, his voice breaking. "It's you or the pack. Choose." Caleb turned, bloodied but unbowed, and his eyes met Ezra's. In that moment, Ezra saw the man Jamie had loved: a leader, a lover, a father. Caleb crossed the room, ignoring Lila's screams, and took Ezra's face in his hands. "You," Caleb said, his voice steady. "Always you." He kissed Ezra, fierce and desperate, and the amulet's power flared, severing Caleb's bond with the pack. Lila's howl of rage was the last thing Ezra heard before the world went white. When he woke, they were alone, the warehouse silent, the amulet dull in his hand. Caleb was beside him, alive but weakened, no longer an alpha but free. "We did it," Caleb whispered, his hand resting on Ezra's stomach. "You, me, and our baby." Ezra smiled, tears in his eyes, and leaned into Caleb's embrace. He wasn't Jamie, but he'd found a home in this strange world, in Caleb's arms, in the life they'd built together. The pack was broken, the amulet's power spent, but their love, new, fragile, and fierce, was just beginning. As they stepped into the dawn, Ezra knew they'd face more battles, but for now, they had each other, and that was enough.